All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great week. As promised, we're getting into Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals in some film today. I'm going to be zooming in on the second half in the run that Oklahoma City went on there. Within that second half run, we saw Oklahoma City stars, specifically Shai and J-Dub, start to win their one-on-one matchups. And what made this particularly interesting to me was seeing the dramatic difference in the way the two teams are defending each other, because it's not as simple as Shai and J-Dub winning their one-on-one matchups versus Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle winning their one-on-one matchups. These two teams are defending each other very differently. We talked about this a lot in last night's show. It is not a coincidence that Minnesota attempted so many more three-point shots than Oklahoma City. That wasn't a process thing from the standpoint of the offense hunting those types of shots. It was a matter of the way they were being defended. You guys are going to see a bunch of examples right off the front here of how one-on-one actions for Oklahoma City are getting defended one-on-one. Two-on-two actions for Oklahoma City are getting defended two-on-two. In that situation, the kick-out reads aren't there, but there are more opportunities in and around the paint, right? Similar, or in an opposite manner on the opposite end of the floor, all the one-on-ones with Ant and Julius, they're getting defended 2-on-1, sometimes 3-on-1. All of the ball screens, they're getting defended 3-on-2, sometimes 4-on-2. And so in a way, the way that this series will go down, it's going to come down to these guys doing their respective jobs against those respective defensive schemes. Meaning, like we saw in the second half of this game, Shai and J-Dub have to win their one-on-one matchups. These guys are going to have to get into the lane, and they're going to have to finish through a little bit of contact against that defender that's been guarding them the whole possession. Or, in this case, pick and roll, finding the openings for the two-on-two sequences with Isaiah Hartenstein or whoever it is that's in the action, Kenrich Williams, so on and so forth, right? That's going to be their specific job. For Minnesota on the opposite end of the floor, as crazy as it sounds, they just got to keep trusting that those guys are going to knock down those threes on those kickouts. You're going to see so many examples in this footage when Julius and Ant threaten the paint at all. There are 3, 4, something like Shai's just straight up ignoring his man and sitting in the paint. Hartenstein sitting in the paint. They are packing the paint and daring Minnesota to make kick out threes. And so there are some refinements on both ends, right? Like, I don't think Shai's going to keep getting the whistle that he got in game 1. So his approach is going to have to gear more towards shot making than it is towards grifting as the series progresses, right? There are realities for both of them as it pertains to being efficient enough on those drives to win that battle in the large sample. On the opposite end of the floor, there are complications. Julius, there are some kickouts that he threw in that second half run where the pass was a little bit off target. Because it was off target, it made for an easier rotation. Because of the easier rotation, tougher shot, guys like Naz Reid or Mike Conley were missing threes that were more contested than they needed to be. So there are some things about like deliberately getting the ball into the paint, drawing the defense in, and getting the pass out on time and on target to the right read so that you can make those, so that you can capitalize on those opportunities. Anthony Edwards, there were several sequences where he either didn't attack enough to bring the appropriate attention, or just early in the clock settling for shots that prevented him from generating those open catch and shoots. And so, again, the job for both stars on both teams is going to be very different over the course of this series. And I want to spend today's film session, again, it's going to be a way to explain Oklahoma City's run, but I also want to use today as just an example of what we're going to be looking for heading forward in the series for both of these teams to reach the success that they're trying to reach. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss show announcements. Don't forget about our podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. It's also super helpful if you leave a rating and a review on that front. Jackson's doing great work on our social media feeds on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Make sure you guys follow us there. And last but not least, keep getting the mailbag questions into the chat so that we can get to them in our live shows after these games. All right, let's talk some basketball. So The NBA Finals are almost here, and every play could be the one that changes everything. This is the NBA playoffs, where heroes rise, legacies are built, and the action never lets up. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, you don't just watch the madness, you live it. Back your favorite team, ride with your clutch time killer, bet on the buzzer beaters, the breakout performances, the game-winning threes, from player props to same-game parlays. This is how you take your fandom to the next level. The New York Knicks, after beating the Celtics, are up to plus 360 as the second best odds to win the title. Surprisingly, the Pacers back at plus 600, because my initial thought on that series is I want to pick the Pacers. But some interesting championship odds right now. New to the game, no sweat. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll score $300 in bonus bets. It's that easy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HOOPS. That's code HOOPS, HOOPS, for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Right away from the start of this film session here in the early third quarter, I want you guys to see just the difference in the way these teams are guarding each other. So we're going to head down to the other end of the floor. Minnesota is going to get a driving kick from Anthony Edwards here. Watch what happens when Ant gets into the paint. So Ant, this is just a simple transition cross match. Isaiah Hartenstein has no choice but to pick up Ant. Ant makes a dribble drive move. Watch the way Oklahoma City reacts in the paint. So again, as you can see, by the time Ant gets into the paint, Lou Dort has now completely ignored his man. He's in the paint. Shai's completely ignored his man. He's in the paint. Chet has completely ignored Jaden McDaniels. He's in the paint. J-Dub has his back turned to Mike Conley. All 5 Thunder players are geared towards Anthony Edwards. And so what does Ant do? He makes a quality kick-out pass to Jaden McDaniels, hits him right in the shooting pocket, really clean catch-and-shoot look. This is the kind of read that Ant is going to have to make over and over and over again. This is, if Ant tries to solve his problems by flying through these 5 bodies and trying to finish, it's going to do all it's going to do is make things harder for them on the offensive end of the floor. These are the kinds of reads they're going to have to keep making. Now we're going to head over to the other end of the floor. And this is actually an example of an overhelp from Julius Randle, but I want you guys to watch the way Rudy Gobert reacts. So we fast forward. Shai ends up driving out of a ball screen that turns into a switch. Ant peels off, and now it's Rudy Gobert against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But watch Julius help off of J-Dub, and because of that help, look at all the other guys. The other guys are accounting for their man, kick out. You can literally see Rudy Gobert say, like, stay out. What are you doing? I got this. I got it under control. We want to defend one-on-one. You're going to see some more examples here. Watch the reaction. We're going down to the other end again on this one. So one of the things you'll see here, because I have a couple other examples in the film, Mike Conley's seeing a very deep drop coverage. And so he's able to get some clean looks at pull-up threes and floaters and stuff like that. He's going to have to be aggressive and look to score, because Hartenstein is really daring him to look to score. Similarly, here we go, another J-Dub drive. Watch how little reaction there is from the other 4 Wolves on this drive. There's literally no reaction from the other 4 Wolves as J-Dub looks to drive. It is very much more of a one-on-one, we're going to trust our guy on an island to do his job style of defense. This is an example of Isaiah Hartenstein with excellent pick and roll defense. Watch how he gets up to the level and gets Ant to get rid of the ball, but still recovers back to Gobert, which causes Gobert to pick up his dribble early because he's facing pressure from the side. That puts him in a really tough spot where the 2-on-1 read is over here. This is his short roll read. He's got to find out which one of these guys is open, but he picks up his dribble early, finds himself trapped by 2 centers, and just pitches it right to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But again, like, this is Isaiah Hartenstein getting up and getting Ant to stop, but also recovering back to the ball. Ant has to push this just a step further. He needs to attack a little bit more or drag this off further to the left to get Isaiah Hartenstein further out, so that when Rudy catches, he's got more space in here to make a better, cleaner read. We're going to see a few examples here of Chet looking to be aggressive against some inattentiveness from Julius Randle. The first one here, Julius Randle's kind of just floating along the baseline. Shai's driving. Once again, look at the lack of reaction from any other Wolf on this Shai drive. Like Shai's like got Jaden compromised, and none of the other Wolves care. This is a one-on-one basketball team. You do your job. We're going to stay home. But Julius, look at Julius. Julius is just kind of standing, and Chet starts to sneak along the baseline and gets himself a little post catch here on the left block. Hits him with just a little simple left shoulder hook. Nice work from Chet. Here's another one of those deep drop looks that Conley faces. One of only 2 shots he made in the game. That's a look that he's going to be able to get against this defense. Once again, Julius being inattentive on Chet. See, look, he's just not paying attention. Sinking in. Simple swing pass from J-Dub to Chet. Chet just looks to drive immediately and gets into the lane. Jaden has no choice but to pick him up. I didn't really see a foul here. It looked kind of like Chet just fell over. But there were a few of those in the second half of this game. Corner kick from Ant. So Ant had just hit a pull-up 3 on the last possession. Shai comes down, tries to match it, misses. We go down to the other end. Watch the way Oklahoma City reacts to this Ant drive. Ball screen, gets him in jail. Once again, look at the way all of these OKC defenders, like Shai just like straight up comes over and double teams temporarily. Ant works against J-Dub again. Look at Shai again, double teaming. Look at the bodies in the paint. This is not going to be a high-scoring series for Anthony Edwards. This is not going to be a Julius Randle got. You want to know how Julius Randle hit a high point total? They gave him a bunch of open catch-and-shoot threes in the first half. They took the catch-and-shoot threes away in the second half. All of a sudden, Julius Randle wasn't scoring. This isn't going to be an open scoring type of series for either of these guys on the ball. Their scoring opportunities will come out of the rotation sequences after they get rid of the ball. And gets in the lane, draws 3 more bodies on help, kicks it out to Mike Conley. Just misses this one he actually knocks down. But again, you can see how this process is going to work for Minnesota. It's going to be getting into the lane, drawing the bodies, and making those kickouts. Now, from this point in the game, Oklahoma City's up 53-50. From this point in the game, you guys will see an obvious kind of shift in the way that both teams are accomplishing their goals. Shai and J-Dub are going to start winning their one-on-ones, like consistently down the floor. And on the other end of the floor, you're going to see Ant start to settle for some bad ones. You're going to see Julius start to make some poor kick-out passes. You're going to see missed kick-out threes. That's where things are going to go off the rails. The 2 different jobs, very different jobs for the Stars, start to tilt in the opposite direction from where they were to start this game. Shai gets an and one here. Watch the lack of help side reaction. Again, Shai gets all the way down to his right foot at the bottom of the semicircle, and there's very little reaction from any Timberwolf off the ball. Shai's able to get a clean step back. That was another. I mean, I don't know where the foul is. But Shai was getting rewarded for a lot of that kind of stuff last night. But you can see the one-on-one stuff very different on this end of the floor. Here's a corner kick from Julius. Watch the difference in the way he's being guarded. Post. Shai's in a strong side zone, completely ignoring his man. So that makes it so that Julius can't pivot towards the baseline side. He's got to go middle. Hartenstein is right underneath the rim. And even Isaiah Joe is a foot in the paint off of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Just very different in the way that they're defending these actions. Here's the kick. That's the job. On this end of the floor, Minnesota's got to make these kickouts every single time. That is their pathway to victory. One detail, though, look at how that pass is just high and outside, which kind of makes it for a funky release because now he's got to no-dip it, and he got pushed from a normal corner 3 to a behind the backboard corner three in the deep, deep corner. So Julius has to be really deliberate about getting this pass right in the shooting pocket so that Mike Conley can take a clean, normal catch and shoot instead of a rushed, no dip corner shoot in the deep, deep corner behind the backboard. Misses another one. Go down to the other end of the floor. J-Dub, straight ISO against Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Again, see, notice how Conley is not digging down. He's getting back. That's the difference in their scheme. Notice Ant. What was Shai doing on the other end in this exact same sequence? Shai was leaving this guy and stepping up into the lane. Ant is staying put. It's a one-on-one game for Oklahoma City. It's a repeat. Next one. Same thing here against Julius Randle. See, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker is face guarding Shai off the ball and staying home in the strong side corner. It's a one-on-one game. Nice shot, though, from J-Dub. See how Shai and J-Dub are starting to win those matchups like consistently every time down the floor? That's literally when the game started to tilt in their favor. Here's an example of one of those shots from Dante DiVincenzo that I just really didn't like. 21 seconds on the shot clock, like a 28-footer off the dribble. And it's just, that's not the shot you're going to regain your rhythm with. All righty. This time, Shai one-on-one against Nickeil Alexander-Walker. We did get a late peel-off double team from Dante here. Very rare. But once again, Shai starting to win that matchup. I thought this was an example of Julius Randle forcing the issue against a triple team when I think this is the one we just saw. So let me get up ahead. This is Julius Randle forcing against a triple team when there were corner kicks that were available. So again, like losing discipline, losing control of the situation. Crowd's into it. You need to get a good shot. Like in this situation, you've driven. We have a pin and flare from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You've got a Naz Reid right here in the strong side corner. If Cason Wallace is going to put a foot in the paint off the strong side corner, off of Naz Reid, you have to make that pass every single time. This is not doing your job against the defensive scheme that you are facing. You can see the difference. OKC one-on-one, they're winning those battles. All the one-on-threes, one-on-twos, these are the situations where Minnesota has to make Oklahoma City pay for this style of defense. Instead, you settle for a tough, contested mid-range jump shot over a triple team. Shai gets all the way to the rim here. You'll see help at the rim, but look at how late the help is because Minnesota doesn't want to help here. Shai gets all the way downhill. The guys come over late, right at the end after Shai's already split. I really like Shai, by the way, working one-on-one against Julius and Naz in this matchup. These are matchups I think he should be hunting more. He can get downhill against those guys or find openings just in basic screening action as they don't want to give up that switch. But all three Wolves have to leave there to try to block this shot. Or I should say those two in help. As a result, Shai actually is able to get up and beat them back to the ball and get an offensive rebound. Shai's really starting to win that battle at the point of attack now. Here's one of those post-ups, transition cross-match, Naz Reid against J-Dub. Straight post-up. J-Dub wins the battle, but just being physically aggressive. Baseline double. See, like, look, there's the baseline double team. These are not one-on-ones. These are one-on-twos. You gotta stop thinking score, and you gotta start thinking pass out of these post-ups. You're playing right into OKC's hands by trying to bully through and trying to score through these double teams. This was a really weird sequence. Another bad Julius Randle defense sequence. Julius Randle's on the ball. He's on J-Dub. J-Dub drives. J-Dub kicks. Everyone's matched up. Dante's on Kason. Naz Reid is on Isaiah Joe. Ant's on Kenrich Williams. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is on Shai. Watch who quits playing. J-Dub drives. Julius is on him. Kick. Watch J-Dub. J-Dub relocates to the top of the key, and Julius decides to just point. Someone else go get him. Well, no one's there, Julius. He's wide open. Now Nickeil Alexander-Walker has to close out. J-Dub ball fake, gets into the lane. Really nice acrobatic finish in traffic. Another corner kick from Julius, but once again, I want you guys to watch watch the location of the pass. Middle of the floor. There's our double team. Relocate. Double team from J-Dub. Okay. There's our kick. If this pass hits Naz right in the shooting pocket, it's a comfortable catch and shoot. Instead, the pass is low. And because of the low pass, look at where Naz Reid has to catch it. All the way down by his toes, which disrupts the rhythm and slows it down just enough so that Kason Wallace can get a good contest on that shot. Those are those little details. Like, and here's the thing, guys. There's a version of this game where that Conley corner three goes in. There's a version of this game where that Naz Reid corner three goes in. But you increase your chance. Like I talked about, variance is far down the list for me, below process, defense, things along those lines. Put the ball in the shooting pocket, you give him a better chance to knock that shot down. Once again, look at how it looks like a one-on-one. And Naz Reid doesn't even remotely consider helping until Nikhil's dead to rights. He's like, okay, oh shit, Nikhil's dead to rights. I got to get over there. And this is a hell of a defensive play. But it's just, to me, it was jarring watching the film this morning when you really look at it, just how different these two teams were guarding each other. Ant gets a little one-on-one here at the top of the key. Doesn't get into the paint enough to draw a double team, but you can see the bodies all behind him. Goes into a little step back. Once again, look at Shai. Shai, as soon as Nickeil Alexander-Walker cuts through, Shai's like, I'm done with him. I'm no longer worried about Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'm officially just in a soft zone double team of Ant, right? So Ant, in this case, needs to just wait for Nickeil to relocate, continue to probe in this area, and make the kick-out pass. Instead, he settles for a little pull-up mid-range jump shot. And I like the mid-ranges when you get down to 15 feet. Once you get out to 20 feet, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Here on this possession, Ant finally gets some downhill penetration against J-Dub. And in the transition cross match, by the way, this is a small group for OKC. There's no center on the floor. Rudy's kind of got an inside seal on Shai that prevents him from being able to protect the rim. Ant's able to get through into the lane, beats a dig. By the way, there's a dig from Isaiah Joe and actually gets all the way to the rim on this one. There's going to be opportunistic things like that, especially in semi-transition situations like that where there's cross matches. But again, it's going to be few and far between. It's going to be a passing series for Ant and Julius. I thought this was a big-time late shot clock kind of rescue sequence from Kenrich Williams. Dante gets cleanly beat. This hasn't happened often, but when he gets cleanly beat, that forces a help. That help puts the defense in rotation. Gobert's going to slide over. Naz Reid's going to slide over. Dante's going to end up back on Kenrich. Now there's 6 seconds on the shot clock, and the best you can get here is this guy's just got to create a bucket against a closeout. Kenrich just, boom, pullback dribble, bucket. Here's a quality corner kick from Anthony Edwards to Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Once again, I want you guys to pay attention to just the difference in the way he's being guarded. Kenrich, full-on double team. Caruso, foot in the paint. Gets him in jail. Caruso bails on Nickeil Alexander-Walker entirely. He's in the paint. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bails on Dante entirely. He's in the paint. Look at this, guys. There's there is no Ant just forcing it through all this shit. That's not going to be the pathway here. Corner kick to Dante's open. Corner kick to Nikhil is open. He makes the corner kick. Boom, pump fake. That's a you're not gonna get a better shot forcing through the quadruple team than a Nikhil Alexander Walker catch and shoot three on the corner when he's been in the 40s all year long on this kind of shot. He just missed it, just left it short. Here's that pick and pop from Kenrich Williams. Once again, the hesitancy to not that they don't want to switch Nas onto Shai. So two end up on the ball. Kenrich just pops. Easy pick and pop three. Knockdown. Big shift from Kenrich Williams in the second half yesterday. Nas Reed's going to force a post up here. Once again, watch the corner kick reads that he doesn't make. I think he tries to force it through Chet. Yeah, a little screening action. Tries to go through Chet. There's a man down. Nikhil Alexander Walker is completely unguarded in the right corner. This pass has to be made. And instead, he tries to force it through the rim protector. Turnover. Shai one-on-one against Nikhil. Just beats him. We get another peel-off double. Little late peel-off from Dante. Dante did twice right when Shai was going up for his shot. Was able to come over and get a contest. And by the way, that's one of the things you'll notice. OKC won a bunch of one-on-ones in a row. Now what's starting to happen now that OKC's winning those one-on-ones, we've seen back-to-back situations where Shai went to a pull-up and Dante did a late peel-off double. OKC, by winning their ones, can turn that into opportunity to generate quality catch and shoots as Minnesota starts to overreact to that one-on-one success. Similarly, Minnesota, go down to the other end, beat them with those kick-out passes. Hit a bunch of corner threes. Do it again and again and again, and you might see those guys start to stay home. Just kind of inherently because of their basketball instincts, which will create some more opportunities in the paint. Or you might get an audible from Mark Dagenalt where he basically goes, it's time to stay home and make these guys scorers. But you've got to beat the base scheme. OKC beat the base scheme enough times that Minnesota is starting to crack a little bit. On the other end of the floor, Minnesota is not beating OKC's base scheme because they're not hitting those corner threes or not hitting those kick-out passes often enough. Now down 11, and this is just losing control of the situation. Tough pull-up three early in the clock. Down on the other end, as much as I hate this call, Shai once again just rejects a ball screen against Ant. Also, I don't think Gobert needs to be up this high, especially when you're trying to bait Shai into taking jumpers instead of driving. Gobert's got to be further back. But Ant gets beat. Hate the call, but still a bucket from Shai, winning his one-on-one matchup. So I think there's a pretty clear trend that you guys can see from the film. Oklahoma City's packing the paint, leaving shooters open. Minnesota's not. And whichever team can beat that scheme more effectively over the course of this series is going to win. And force adjustments, force that second layer of whatever defensive idea Mark Dagenalt has or Chris Finch has. And in game one, Minnesota in the second half was unable to crack that scheme, and Oklahoma City was, and that was the difference in the game. And in game two, it's going to be on Minnesota because OKC's not going to bail on that scheme. It just worked. They held them to 40 points in the second half. The only way they're going to play them out of that scheme is by relentlessly making those reads and knocking down those shots. That's the pathway in game two. Minnesota can win this series. I think they have the advantages they need, but I just didn't think they were nearly good enough in that second half. All right, guys, that's all I have for this morning. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting me and supporting the show. We will be back tonight live on YouTube after the final buzzer of Knicks Pacers. And then when we are done on YouTube, we'll be heading over to playback.tv/hoops tonight for our after show where we'll be taking callers and just hanging out, watching film, things along those lines. Again, as always, I appreciate you guys for supporting us. We'll see you next time.